Blaine Mayo is a 7-year-old boy with a wonderful smile, but he is a boy who cannot walk, stand, or use his arms. Blaine was born with cerebral palsy. In America, about 8,000 kids are born with CP each year. Their brains are damaged at birth, usually because of a temporary lack of oxygen. Cerebral palsy breaks the connection between mind and muscle. Most often, kids with cerebral palsy like Blaine settle into wheelchairs for the rest of their lives. But Blaine Mayo's parents are doing something extraordinary. They've moved half a world away to a place where wheelchairs lie motionless and children with cerebral palsy rise. They believe that Blaine will walk, and they have rejected the advice offered by their American doctors.
It's basically, let's sit him in a chair, let's strap him up, and let's adapt everything around him so that he doesn't have to work very hard, which is all well and good, except then you end up with a child that can sit in a wheelchair and can't do anything for himself.
Leslie Mayo's son, Blaine, was born with one of the most severe forms of cerebral palsy. He has almost no control of his legs, his arms, even his jaw. Here's Blaine at age 4, unable to eat or even sit up by himself. Back in the United States, the doctors told you what about Blaine's prognosis?
That he probably would never walk on his own, never, not functionally, so there wasn't any point in trying. But over here, of course, that's the first thing they mentioned was this child can walk. This child
over here is Budapest, Hungary, and a place called the Peto Institute. 5,000 miles from the Mayo's home in Alabama, Leslie and her father, Robert Dillard, who took early retirement, are here with Blaine. Blaine's dad stayed behind to work. They don't have jobs here, don't speak the language, but they see no alternative.
To be honest, it's either you stay at home and you accept less for your son, or you bite the bullet and ask to raise money and bring yourself over here.
So Blaine can work at something developed here at the Peto Institute called Conductive Education. 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, the teachers, they call them conductors, show the children how to move, and they repeat the routines to exhaustion. The idea is this: if the brain is forced to try, it will find a way to connect mind and muscle. Blaine is trying to learn to walk. Holding himself up on a ladder-backed chair, he's pushing with his eyes on the prize. His mom is 40 feet away.
Yes, nice. Wonderful. Little, right? Stand up tall, please.
The muscles he does control are all in his face, and everything about his struggle is written there.
Okay. I see. Head up, please.
While other American moms are cheering at soccer games, Leslie is beaming encouragement to get her son another fraction of an inch.
There you go. You just got to make it to my feet.
His foot on the right side of the screen is lifting. He's pulling the heel up, the beginning of a step.
Come on, Cotty's working with you. It's good.
All he has to do is push with the ball of his foot.
You are doing great. Don't make that face.
He's caught in the middle. Finishing the step takes more than the strength that he has.
Okay.
In those early days, did you have second thoughts?
Yeah, the first week. It's funny, though, because you care for your child and you don't want to see your child go through that, but you've seen how the other children have come out the other side. So at that point, if you want the honest truth, you're going, gosh, I wish he could do this and I wouldn't have to watch.
Parents like Leslie have been watching their children at the Peto Institute for nearly 60 years. Americans haven't heard much about it before because, for most of its time, it was hidden in the shadow of the Iron Curtain. Just after World War II, a Hungarian doctor by the name of András Peto decided to challenge cerebral palsy to a fight over every kid who was destined for a wheelchair. Peto thought that just because a child was born with brain damage, it didn't mean he was incapable of learning skills that might lead to an independent life. Today, 1,500 children are here from all over the world. The Institute takes in any child under the age of 3, and older kids without severe learning disabilities. The training costs $60 a day for kids who travel here to enroll for months at a time. Results take years, but the children often help each other with skills and maybe a little encouragement.
What's inside?
Jill Anderson traveled to the Peto Institute from England when she realized that her infant daughter Olivia wasn't able to move like other children.
You've been taking advantage of this method for how long?
About a year and a half now.
And what can she do now?
Well, as you can see, she can sit up, she can crawl, stand, all of those things. And she actually took her first steps last week here, 10 steps on her own.
10 steps on her own?
That's right.
Were you concerned that you might not ever see that?
Absolutely, yes. It was a very emotional time.
It's the intensity of the Peto approach that makes it different from other therapies. Back in the United States, CP kids may get occupational or physical therapy, but most often it's only for an hour a week or maybe two. Parents are expected to follow up at home. Here, it's 40 hours a week in the hands of the conductors, who have trained in this for years. Ildiko Kozma is the director of the Peto Institute.
What can these kids achieve?
Everything.
Kozma makes an extraordinary claim of success for kids who start at the Peto program before they're 3 years old.
If they are coming between the age of 6 months and 3-4 years of age, then 80% of these kids can go to the elementary public school.
80% of these children will go to a normal elementary school.
Yes, please. Yes. They won't be dancers. And they won't be people whose first activity is moving. But they will live a normal, average human life.
Normal, average life is possible for many because half of all the kids with cerebral palsy have a normal intellect. They can learn just like any other kid. It's only the muscles that fail them. So here, the body goes to school. Legs, hips, and arms are bent, stretched, and flexed again and again. Most of the time, it's hard work on hard wood. These 6-month-olds may be ready for a nap, but instead, they're working on a table called a plinth. Peto modeled it on a Nazi concentration camp bunk with little cushion or comfort. The idea is to force a child like Blaine to feel the movement, a controlled and constructive use of pain.
He has bruises. He has bruises now.
Bruises?
Bruises. He has bruises. All the kids have them, and they laugh about them because they've been working so hard, and I know it's difficult on him, but it makes him, well, it makes him want to do the exercises quicker to get off of there, and it makes him want to do them right so that he's finished with it. And everything they're doing on the plinth is strength and flexibility, which he needs both of.
Blaine's been here for 6 months. He's been working alongside a 14-year-old American girl, Havia Qureshi, whose family immigrated to North Carolina from Pakistan. Javia's legs are every bit as impaired as Blaine's. This is Havia at age 4, unable to walk, unable to lift her shoulders off the couch. Her father, Amir, told us that the American doctors gave her a grave prognosis.
They told me that your child never sit by herself. Her life expectation is from 20 to 25 years.
They told you she would live only 25 years at the most and would never be able to get up on.
That's right, sir.
Amir has been watching his daughter in the Peto Institute for 4 years, and look at her now.
Don't worry, I'm here behind you. Slowly.
Slowly, slowly.
Very good. You do it very well.
Yes. She's sweetheart. She's my love. She's I love you.
This year, she's walking to her 7th grade classes in public school back in the States. There, she has an aide who walks with her from class to class. Javier has trouble speaking, so a lot of her work is done on a computer. But despite it all, her father told us that Javier is an A student.
What is the best you can hope for Javier?
Now I can see the end of the tunnel. There is hope that she will become independent. Maybe it's take 2 years or 3 years. The way she is progressing, I can wait few more years that she become independent.
Parents like Amir, who see children taking impossible steps, are Peto's greatest believers.
You're okay.
But the American medical establishment back home is skeptical. Dr. Carolyn, kids with cerebral palsy in Cleveland, says there hasn't been a long-term independent study of Peto.
This has been going on in Budapest for 60 years.
Mm-hmm. There is literature from there. It's very positive. It's almost suspiciously positive, and I don't mean that they are falsifying data. That's not what I mean at all. I mean that the outcome are very positive, and
you're saying it's too good to be true.
It feels too good to be true when you look at it. When I look at that question a little bit more, because I have seen it with my own eyes, and it is effective. It is wonderful. I probably wouldn't use as strong positive descriptions as I've seen some of the literature that comes from its home country.
But what Dr. Green is seeing is the development of conductive education in America. There are now programs in 20 states. A few of Dr. Green's patients are enrolled at the United Cerebral Palsy Wolstein Center in Cleveland. They're working with Peto-trained conductors from Budapest 15 hours a week, not because their doctors prescribed it, but because their parents demanded it.
If conductive education catches on in the United States, it's going to be because the parents pushed it.
Absolutely.
But some parents, like Leslie Mayo, aren't waiting. Frustrated by limits set in America, they are finding hope in Budapest.
I don't think they ever see it as hopeless. Not ever. And they give you time frames. I mean, they do. They said 2 or 3 years, your child will walk. And I totally believe that.